I submitted this to everybody already. Jesus fucking Christ.
Feel better? Whoa. Looks like the house is getting wild in here.
Oh, you don't say.
What's this blocking the door? Now I have to deal with the Makes sense.
Oh. What the fuck?
Darkness everywhere. New day, same old bloody secret. Get it on me. Agent Fisher, inside the hotel. Agent Fisher, research inside the hotel. Here's what our surveillance methods are as follows: fiber optic cameras. Understanding of the darkness is practical, incomplete. It's abyss, it's void. It very much does not wish to be understood. Light symbolizes knowledge that extends to reason, and darkness would equate to ignorance. By its very nature, it ignores not only drives me to comprehend the aura of owner's innocence, destined to fly.
Oh no! You guys going to the thing?
What?
You guys going? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
Where are you going to Newport?
You guys going? All right. See you there.
Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to our send-off, our final send-off for the season for our print evidence competition that's going to be taking place later this week. It would in normal times take place at Brooklyn Law School, but right now it'll take place in this sort of virtual Zoom reality we're all in. So before I introduce the judges and introduce the competitors, I just wanted to tell everyone a little bit about Moot Court. Professor Jeff Kirkmeyer and I are both co-advisors of the CUNY Moot Court team. And what the competitors here today have done is gone through our CUNY Summer Moot Court competition that takes place in September after the students have worked on briefs during the summer. Once they've qualified for the team, after competing successfully at the summer competition before two rounds of panels of judges, and in the case of those who make it to the final round, 3 rounds of competition, the students then become part of our team and apply for external competitions. So if you're interested, eye out for the release date of the problem, you should keep an eye out for a partner, and you should start making connections and thinking about it. Towards the end of this semester, you'll see notifications about the problem release date, and there'll be meetings around what you need to do in order to compete in the summer competition. So keep your eyes open for those emails. So what I wanted to explain is that the competition style is that it's an appellate argument, as if it's taking place before the Supreme Court. And what I'm going to do is let each of the competitors tell you their names and introduce their issues to you. Before I do that, I'm going to just introduce the judges. We're really excited to have a few of our alum back joining us. And that includes, we have with us Natasha Warren, who is an appellate attorney working with the CPA's office. Natasha actually competed at the Prince competition 4 years ago, very successfully, and we're really lucky to have her join us today. We have some investors from your fantastic who we're really lucky to have in addition, we get Professor Gregory Lewis, some of you already know him, and he teaches business law. Each of the competitors introduce themselves and tell you about their issues in the order in which they're going to be presenting their argument. So, Yulia, you're first.
Thank you, Professor Ahmad. I'm 2L, and I'm going to find the issue that I'm the issue of psychorepresentation and ambiguous exception, whether it should be one or and I will be arguing first as a petitioner, and then I will be arguing
Sure, thank you. Well, towards the end, I'm an evening 2L student, and I will be arguing two issues on the petitioner's side. The first is that the government violated the Fourth Amendment by exceeding the scope of private search of a digital device. And the second issue that the government violated the United States v. Brady, where they withheld or suppressed evidence of two alternative suspects from the defense.
I'm Erica Flynn. I'm the current treasurer of the youth board. I will be discussing how the police search did not exceed the scope of the private search and that inadmissible evidence cannot be
Thank you. One more piece of order here, which is Gloria Osborne, who's the team's manager, and has been just tirelessly advocating for the team, setting up many moves, getting faculty with them, fielding emails for Professor Pierce, for myself. Huge thank you to Gloria for pulling this together. So I'm going to now turn it over to Gloria and start thank you for answering.
I'm going to call the court action. The Chief Justice and the Associate of the Supreme Court, the court will now hear argument number 22388 from the docket, Cole versus the United States of America.
Petitioner ready to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. My name is Helen Marshak, and together with my co-counsel, I respect and commend the petitioner. Mr. Stewart Stant will address the Fourth Amendment and local search issue and Brady violations, and I will discuss why the public testimony at the trial was a violation of psychorepresentation privilege. May we please reserve 1 minute for a rebuttal. The first issue of this case is about the requirement of police recognition of the crucial public interest that is advanced and protected by making communication between licensed mental health workers and their patients privileged. The petition therefore respectfully asks this court to reverse the Holy Circuit Court interpretation and hold that the lower court erred in admitting the police testimony. First, every rationale behind this court's recognition of the psychorepresentation privilege in Jeffrey Redmond speaks against the breaking of the privilege under the dangerous patient exception. Second, psychorepresentation privilege mental health professionals to report dangerous patients to law enforcement. The mandatory disclosure under such duty does not automatically waive the privilege. Finally, even if the court sides with a minority of circuits that recognize the incorporation infraction, the fact that this court's case do not support the importance of the protection. Before I proceed with my argument, would Your Honor like to proceed? Turning to my first argument, the rationale of this court's recognition of the psychotherapist patient privilege in Jeffrey Red the recognition of the crucial importance that confidentiality plays in the relationship between psychotherapists in any mental health worker, in fact, and their patient, making it necessary so that communication is privileged.
So what I understand you're saying that under no circumstances is the psychotherapist ever allowed to testify as to confidential communications with the patient in court?
Your Honor, this is not what we are arguing. We are arguing that disclosure or in a civil cases when involuntary. However, in some cases when the prosecutor wants to and if the one who's like in this case going to jail, this is where there should be no exception and psychotherapists should not be testifying because
So you're saying specifically a psychotherapist cannot testify to confidential communications?
Yes, Your Honor, unless the patient is a disclosure of mental health.
But it would be fair to say that there are times when say, for instance, in a commitment hearing, where the doctor may be able to testify as to the person's mental health, and that person's involuntarily committed. You would agree?
Something that where the psychotherapist or mental health worker is still acting in the interest of the patient and they're making a professional determination that the commitment is necessary to protect the patient from themselves or from others.
So what's the difference here? So what's the difference between being involuntarily committed and being prosecuted?
It's under the statute. It's like to the psychotherapist she is
the communication she had a mandatory duty.
Yes, Your Honor, the duty to report is there to protect the interests of third parties and is under state law and so that the psychotherapist makes determination that the threats need to be disclosed to law enforcement or the victim themselves reports that.
In the situation where, say, there is harm to be made that is going to be done to a third party, like in the instant case, and the psychotherapist discloses to law enforcement, like in the case here, what was told to her. Doesn't the privilege break in that instance allowing that the psychotherapist can be compelled to testify?
Your Honor, we respectfully disagree that the privilege breaks at that moment. The duty under the state law stops at the moment of disclosure to law enforcement. Then it's in the hands of law enforcement to investigate, like it was done in Ms. Gold's case. They did a wellness check on Ms. Gold, determined that there was no active threat. And
is there anything in particular in Jaffe versus Redmond that makes this distinction that you're making? The distinction between police and testifying?
context, and this word in Jackie Reynolds specifically suggests and balance has the position of certain privilege. So it doesn't matter or not have evidence to put before
We're talking about and suggesting. So what's the point of that footnote?
Your Honor, the footnote is there to indicate the necessity of psychotherapists to report dangerous patients to law enforcement, because this is something that was an established tradition, and in fact, after Terraza v. Regents in California, the California Supreme Court case in 1976, it was on the books of almost every state, and right now...
I get that, but the thing about Jackie, though, is that Jackie deals with disclosure, right? Disclosure of confidential notes in a trial, or for evidentiary purposes, right?
The footnote doesn't go down.
I'm not talking about the footnote, I'm talking about the case itself. So the case deals with whether or not the psychotherapists have to turn over notes as part of disclosure, right?
Correct, Your Honor, that was the case in Jackie.
That's not related to a duty to report to law enforcement, right?
In that particular case, it was not. However, so duty to report was something that all states had and have in their state codes. This is something that the court, as you interpreted, tried to avoid the confusion for psychotherapists and for the profession.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is, given what the case itself is about, where exactly are you drawing this distinction between disclosure only for purposes of reporting and disclosure for purposes of trial, evidence, testimony? Like, where in Jackie are you getting language that allows you to make the distinction you're attempting to make today?
Your Honor, Jackie was a civil case that was dealing with a 1983 claim about a past crime that was allegedly already committed. Here, we're talking about something that did not happen, and the disclosure mentioned in Jackie's footnote, and the disclosure that is necessary under duty to report, is something to prevent an event from occurring in the future. It's about in the moment when the statements are being made, whether they are the means to avert harm to a person being threatened.
So, Counselor, let's just to move on a little bit. If we did adopt the dangerous patient exception, and I know in reading your brief that you cited certain circuits that determined or that ruled as to what the exception may be, would your client still be protected in this particular case from his own expert testifying? His own physician testifying?
Your Honor, yes. This Gold's facts would not support the invoking of the dangerous exception.
What are you doing in investigation?
Isn't it true that
If you're talking right now, I can't hear you. It's a one-way system. Try to find an intercom.
Yes, Your Honor, those were her words. She was known for her anger issues and was being treated for 2 years for intermittent exposure disorder. She never stated who she was planning to kill. And if the statements are taken in the context...
Aren't there only a few people she could be referring to? In this context, she was referring to the pharmaceutical herb immunity, of which case she was working for that company, of which Ms. Driscoll was correct?
Yes, Your Honor, she was talking about Ms. Driscoll because she was upset about the situation with herb immunity. However, even if those statements would be considered serious, and Dr. Pollack reported that law enforcement, they are only aware of harm at this moment. And it's shown by the investigation conducted by Officer Hobbs, who followed up on Dr. Pollack's statement of disclosure to him.
In this case, did the psychotherapist believe that Ms. Gold posed an immediate threat to Ms. Driscoll? In the sense that she believed that Ms. Driscoll was in serious danger and that the defendant was likely to carry out the threat, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Dr. Pollack believes so when she made her report. However,
Have someone to talk to, you know? Ever since I got put in charge of the panopticon, people
what
treat
would
me
be a dangerous
different. Like
patient, and additionally, this court, the trial court is the one who should make the determination whether the panopticon binds are going to class the status of the should be done in a one-court hearing where the court can decide by the preponderance of evidence if in that particular moment the threats were serious enough and they were the only means to prevent harm. We are asking this court to recognize that the dangerous patient exception is the danger to the psychotherapist patient privilege, recognized as one of the federal privileges under Rule 5.1 by this court in Jeffrey Redmond, and recognize that the chilling effect that would be created if the patients would think that the words that they are uttering in the moments of great vulnerability when they are in therapy can be used against them in a court of law for the purpose of incarcerating them. We ask this court to reverse the Court of Appeals decision and grant Ms. Golden a trial.
And second, the government suppressed material exculpatory evidence, violating turning to the first issue. They treated the private they only permit the government in private searches like tracks or copies. The private searcher leads, and the government is permitted to file. There is no dispute here.
You are familiar with our jurisprudence on the Fourth Amendment, right?
Yes, sir.
And that the touchdown of the Fourth Amendment is reasonable, right? So is it reasonable to say that flash drive by a private citizen without any restrictions as to what is it reasonable to say that the officer cannot search without
Yes, Your Honor, and it's because what was reasonable prior to the Fourth, what was unreasonable prior to the Fourth Amendment being adopted should certainly inform what is reasonable now. And the private search exception should not be indistinguishable from the general the colonial era, where British officers were able to search indiscriminately for criminal wrongdoing. And the government fails to satisfy any of the protections that were to exceed the scope of the private search. And systematically searching. And the government later indicted the defendant that the government, the private sector was frustrated on the Fourth Amendment Officer, yeah, should have asked Ms. Wild about it. He was permitted to recreate the search, and in doing so, which file she had
So anytime an officer gets a flash drive, private citizen, or gets any type of container, digital container from a private citizen, that officer should always remember to ask which
because he's permitted under the Code of
Canceling when the private citizen of the flash drive, and it's true that the evidence didn't go through every single
You'll find that. So isn't he substantially certain at that point what he's likely to find on the file?
In the files that his wild dog opened, and that she's substantially certain to have known, and that was the photographs, the nice note, the usernames and passwords, and distinguish that from the evidence that Officer Yak discovered while conducting the exploratory search, and that was the shipping confirmation, the receipt, the recipe, the budget, the to-do list. So it's not that all the evidence must be suppressed, it's just the evidence that Officer Yak found when he exceeded the scope of Miss Wilddaughter's search, and no exigency was present.
Clarification for by nice note, are you referring to what Miss Wilddaughter found regarding giving the victim a gift?
There was, yes, Your Honor. There was a nice note on Miss Golden's computer that said Miss Wilddaughter.
And it was killed, was murdered when she received a gift of chocolate-covered strawberries that were
There's some inference in the record that Miss Driscoll was killed having consumed chocolate strawberries. Yes, however, there was
a report confirming that, correct?
The record doesn't reflect whether the strychnine, which is a pesticide, research on the pesticide that was found on Miss Gold's computer. However, Miss Gold and Miss Wilddaughter...
Miss Wilddaughter actually found reference to the pesticide on the flash drive, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And in the months leading up to the investigation, Miss Wilddaughter and Miss Gold were searching for so there's certainly legitimate reason why that research would be on her computer, and it also speaks to why qualitatively digital devices are different and require a neutral magistrate or warrant to mitigate the legitimate government investigation as well as reasonable expectations of privacy.
With our Fourth Amendment cases, in which case, I'm sure you know, we have a lot of cases where we state that a lot of searches are like searching a container. Is it your position today that the search of a flash drive is different than the search of a container?
Yes, Your Honor. Chief Justice Roberts in Riley v. California instructed courts not to apply pre-digital rules in the digital context and that they should not be mechanically applied.
So I think it's a good time for me just to point this California brief. You mentioned Trustee as a case where enlarging a thumbnail doesn't amount to an intentional search, correct?
In Trustee, the court held that thumbnails reflected illicit content and enlarging them did not exceed the scope of a privacy.
So in reviewing the record and viewing what Ms. Wilddaughter did have access to, she did, in theory, have access to each and every file without needing to actually open the file, correct?
Yes.
And in certain situations, you can actually preview yourself without actually explicitly opening them.
I suppose, yes, Your Honor.
So in that particular case, just because Wilddaughter didn't actively preview these files, and to the extent that the officer did, how is that actually, why is that an additional step that doesn't go through one excessive search?
Because in Trustee, the files, the illicit content and the subject matter of those thumbnails was in plain view. You could see that those files contained illegal images. And so by enlarging those images, those files, it didn't exceed the scope of the search because it was merely revealing what those files had already revealed. However, in the United States the private searchers can discern the contents of films, and it wasn't until the government projected those films on the wall that they could understand that they contained illicit content. But in the having not projected them, the private searcher couldn't discern the subject matter of those films. And here in the present case, this wild daughter Norman officer, couldn't discern the subject matter of those files without opening them, and therefore it was
The ownership of the flash. Go ahead.
So, counsel, we're here to provide guidance, national guidance. So, I'd like to now understand that adopt your position on the Fourth Amendment question in the digital age. What's the state to ensure
Answer Justice Lewis's question.
Thank you. The Sixth and Ninth Circuits provide and the government interest, and it's excluding a permitted exigency in that
Now I would understand, what would you now have the colloquy be? What would you have be the magic words that an officer say to ensure that, notwithstanding what a third party represents, this is the contents of a thumb drive, right, that the officers ask sufficient questions to ensure that the search is within permissible limits? What would you have the language be? That's what I